You're free to. If you think Tom Verducci's credible, that's also acceptable. I don't care. Here is what he wrote. The Dodgers and Orioles are both circling Tarik Skubal. He's at the top of their list. Sources from both organizations confirmed they're interested in putting together packages loaded with top prospects for Skubal. No indication whether the Tigers' president of baseball ops, Scott Harris, will move Skubal, though Los Angeles and Baltimore have the capital to make a trade interesting. Harris believes Tigers have a developing pitching core that is the center of the rebuild and doesn't want to disrupt it. That's according to a source familiar with his thinking. The source said it's doubtful the Tigers move him, but added everything has a price. And he comped it to Juan Soto's deal, 2.5 years of control, superstar. That deal, the Nats acquired 4 of the top 9 prospects that the Padres had. It became C.J. Abrams, Robert Hassel, James Wood, and Mackenzie Gore. And they also got some guy I've never heard of. Here's the point. I've chosen a different way. I've told you, you don't have to deal them. You don't have to die on the hill of keeping them. Listening is where I'm at. I would listen. But here's my question to you, and if you think I'm being unfair, say it. This is a litmus test for Scott Harris. It's July 16th today. The next 2 weeks are a litmus test to see if we've got a shark as a GM. Because if you know there's a market for Skubal, your job is to create or enhance an existing bidding war. And it's not listening if you just pick up the phone, zone out, and say thanks but no thanks. That's not listening. Listening is, all right, I hear your offer, but here's what it's going to take. And I don't care. You can make the other team hang up the phone. But I want to read a report between now and the deadline. The Tigers asked for X, and the Orioles balked. Because that's what your job is. Now, if you can promise me that this team will get aggressive in the trade market and in free agency and add multiple legitimate MLB bats, not Mark Canha, not a broken pelvis, legitimate, then I'm fine keeping Skubal. But if we're just going to have another offseason of Nothingville and wait for the kids, I'll tell you who's not going to make fun of people who want to trade Skubal on this station. Me. I don't think I have a right to make fun of you if you want to deal him. Because the window doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense if Scott Harris and Chris Ilitch aren't going to effectively and quickly support the lineup. So that's where I'm at. I'd love to know where you guys are at with it. Do you agree it's a litmus test? Stoney, please.
Yeah, but it's definitely a litmus test. And I think it's pretty basic that you have to at least listen, and hopefully you can figure out a way to make it into a bidding war. But if that's not the case, at least I just want some proof that if the Yankees, the Dodgers, or the Orioles call up, he's not going to say, we're not interested, thank you very much, and that's it. If that is what we are told, then I will be extremely disappointed. Because you have to, as you mentioned, you have to make people at least think that you're thinking about doing it, because you get a better offer, technically, from somebody else, and you can do something. Nobody wants to trade this guy. He's great. But you don't want to lose him for nothing. And each year or each minute that you keep him, the value, it's like a car.
I thought it was interesting. One of the executives in the article said, you know, his maximum values right now because he could impact 3 postseasons. You lose one of those if you wait till next year.
Right.
I don't understand an argument of, well, we might have to trade him, but we'll get to it later. Or look, if you want to extend him, I'm fine with that too. Show me a report they've engaged in talks. Now, show me a report that they'd be willing.
And if you're close, if you think, which I don't, and I don't think you do either.
What's that?
If they were close to competing this year, then you don't have to even think about trading them.
Correct. Well,
but
look,
they're not. I don't care that they're, we have 7 games out. If stranger things have happened. You can't live on stranger things.
Ultimately, that's why I've been so venomous about their offseason. It's an absurdity. We shouldn't be in this spot. The pitching's been good enough. We should be in the wild card hunt, legitimately. not some illusion, for real. But they chose not to add any bats anyone cared about. They chose to do certain things in the draft that I'm not going to say because it's personal growth that cost them the ability to have a really good player. So I'll just tell you that's the source of my angst. But if they're going to right their wrongs and it's going to be a big offseason, I have no problem if you want to keep them.
So let me go back here for a second. Would it be fair to say that if they would have gotten a bat or two in this offseason, you would have lived with them selecting Max Clark when they selected Max Clark?
Over unnamed player?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
But once they did what they did in the draft and didn't take an unsaid player,
I get that.
To
Yes.
double down on that and present Mark Canha and Gio Urshela's MRI, that come on.
I know. That I don't disagree with. The
248
actual draft itself wouldn't happen, I was okay with.
248-539-9797. And again, dude, I hope Max Clark is Mike Trout. I hope he's the best player in baseball.
Yeah.
But the problem is, even once he gets here, it is a 1 in 1,000 prospect who comes up and is awesome. And it's just always going to be that way.
I know.
It's probably not until 2027 and about 600 professional at-bats are you really going to know what Max Clark is.
Now, it's too early to tell exactly how good the ceiling is on this player, but let's say Max Clark turns into another Riley Green.
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough?
Sure.
Okay.
One problem. How long did I have to wait for it? Versus guy who could help win now. End playoff drought now. So, look, that's the issue with timeline.
Right.
And it's why I don't make fun of people who want to trade him.
Right. Because of the timeline.
Because they have a point. And I don't know why people get so mad at their point. Like, their point is, look, I just don't believe in my heart we can win the World Series this year or next year. I don't think that makes them terrible people.
No.
So it's just the idea of, all right, I also have Jackson Jobe. If he's 80% of Tarek Skubal, he's a number one in this league, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've developed pitching. Chris Fetter is a witch. Like, this team, they can develop arms. I'm comfortable there.
248-539-9797. Is there anybody alive out there that disagrees with us as far as listening?
And is it a litmus
test? Playing the game. And yes, is it a litmus test?
I don't believe sitting this one out and just hanging up the phone is doing your job.
No.
I think we're going to learn a lot in the next 2 weeks how good Scott Harris actually is at his job, because we need to be seeing those reports. The Tigers are interested, active in trade talks is words that I'm looking for.
And I need to see him do what other organizations have done to you. I need to see him pull a deal for Flaherty where you go, wow, the Tigers got that for Flaherty? That's what I need.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, last year, I couldn't believe the Guardians got Kyle Manzardo for Aaron Savale.
Right.
You went, wait, what? And again, Manzardo hasn't flourished yet. The point is that was Tampa's best hitting prospect, not named Caminero, the third baseman they got.
And now Savali's in Milwaukee already.
Right. But my point is, do that.
Yeah, I get it. By the way, I asked you to percolate on this for about a half hour.
What's up?
That's not an option?
Yeah.
The Bulls-Pistons
All-Star
Summer
game.
League or the All-Star game?
All-Star game.
Okay.
You win. 248.
Well, actually, everybody wins because the Pistons game, I think, starts at 6:30, and the All-Star game starts at 8. So you can watch both or watch
what a
neither.
blessed night of sports.
That's a
or I could
back-to-back
bash
right
my head
there.
off a fire hydrant. That's an option,
Come
too.
on, you get to watch the guy the Bulls picked play, who was Tellum's son's client, who you didn't want.
Bazelis.
Yes. You know that's what's going to happen because we wanted to make sure that there was no nepotism in the pick. That's whoever got him, which in this case is the Bulls in our division, he's going to be a superstar just to spite us.
It's plausible.
You know.
Let's go to Nick, 97.1. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Mike, thanks for taking my call. To answer your point during the Blitz, why Vanderbilt exists, all you have to do is look at my football team coached by Mr. Dumb McStupid Pants, former head coach of Vanderbilt football, now coach at Penn State. Mike, I love how yesterday I called and you just said, I'm pretty sure that's the angry Penn State fan.
Yes.
Well, you were right because it was.
Okay. Nick, I thought it was you, and I'm like, well, and then you just,
How did you know, though? Like,
Because you freaked
Is
out,
this
and
like the tone of my voice, or?
it sounded like the money thing that you did the one time, and I'm like,
yeah.
I think that's
I
Nick.
still remember that. All right,
Yes.
all right.
So
Yes.
Nick, did you grow up near Happy Valley, or you just became?
No, I started going to Penn State like in 2016. I didn't finish going to school there. I went there for like 2 years, but I was there when Saquon Barkley and Chris Godwin, and when we're actually doing things. Now we don't even do things anymore. But that's totally different. Football season's a long way away.
Okay.
Anyways, getting my point on Skubal conversation, Mike. I think it's extremely foolish not to listen in general, but I'm sort of neutral on the subject. I'm sort of whatever Scott wants, it'll be okay with A or B. Now, there are things that need to happen for me to like either decision, but if he does option A or option B, I'm good. Now, option A, if he wants to trade him, I'm okay with that. Set your price, and if a team hits it, then get it done. Like if what Verducci is saying is true and teams are loading up offers and he gets the perfect one, then he should do it. And if he doesn't like it, then don't make the trade. But you kind of got to do it now because from here on out, it's diminishing returns. Don't wait. I don't want to trade him after the deadline. And if he's not traded before the deadline expires, then I have to extend him, which brings me to option B. If Scott doesn't want to trade him, then we can, and all this talk about our pitching core being so great, and he believes in it, I'm okay with that too, but he's got to extend him, and they got to have an actual off season versus last year. By the way, Scott, if you'd signed Chapman, you could be trading him for even more assets. Oops. But on Skubal, he has to be proactive and reach out to Skubal and start negotiating as soon as possible and show him and his agent you're serious. They're like, hey, man, we want you here. We want you to be our ace. We want you to be our guy, be a beacon to our younger pitchers, and we're willing to offer you ace money right now, whether it's 8 years, 10 years, I don't know. But, I'm not going to lowball him and give him the idea that Scott Harris doesn't Harris doesn't value his talents, and more importantly, give Boris the idea that he can hold out for more money. And the reason you do this, you got to do it before the winter meetings. The reason you do this is to show his agent and Skubal that you're serious about extending him. It's a show of good faith, and it'll make Skubal believe, wow, they've really made this a priority. They're clearly serious about this. They value my talents. And you know what, Scott? How many boats can I ski behind? Let's get it done. Hell, we've seen with Boris and other clients. Austin Riley, was he a Scott Boris client? The Braves signed him on a team-friendly deal.
There it is. No, Nick, just to build off of that, it's something I did when I first brought up the Skubal thing, and everybody hated my guts, and I'm like, we may have to listen. I went back and looked, and there are 9 or 10 high-profile deals where Scott Boras has not taken a client to free agency with 2 years or more control left. Altuve being one, Strasburg being one. You got to go back a little bit for a few of them, but Carlos Gonzalez, who was, Cargo was the nickname.
Right.
He's gotten those deals done. If you show me that the Tigers want to sign Skubal, you think I'm angry? Absolutely not. But this is going to be the next 6 to 9 months, or if you want to simplify it, the deadline and the winter meetings. This is going to be one of the most important ones in recent Tiger history because I'm sorry, I think you got a lot of people in this town who've just about had it with this franchise. They're getting disenfranchised. They're getting very angry. They're tired. They're beaten up, and they want to know a direction here. And it's like, if it's wait for the kids, say it.
Yeah.
But you got to do certain
Just be
things.
honest about it.
Or what I would do if I owned the team, re-energize the entire city. I'm not happy that the Lions own this town now, and I need to get 3 million people through my gates. And I would make it rain. I would bring in players I can put on tickets. I need butts and seats. I need wins.
How much would you have to pay to get Juan Soto to come to Detroit?
That would never happen. You would have to pay him $70 million a year. It would never happen.
I know.
You don't even need that though.
Okay.
I know, but you don't.
Right.
You just need to not be obtuse. But see, my fear, Kenny, I know. 1 second. It's just my fear, and I hope Harris proves me wrong. My fear is he wants to recreate what they did in San Francisco. Not he didn't do it. His boss did it. It was just this team of tryhards that had this one magical year. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in Moneyball.
No.
I'm not. It's an entertainment product.